What's going on, Grace Youth? Hey, I don't know if you remember, but last time I had Emily Schaeffer on. She did a great job, by the way. But at the end of that episode, I said my goal was to get Pastor Jonathan. And guess what? It happened.
Hey, it's great to see you guys.
And thanks for coming, Pastor
Absolutely.
Jonathan. Surprised you rose up to the challenge. You want to play me in some ball.
I just got to tell you, Joe is going to absolutely embarrass me. Like I told him, I said, I'm going to increase your self-esteem. So if anybody you're feeling like you need me to help you out with that, just let me know. But Emily, I'm going to try to do the Schaeffer name proud, okay? All right.
Sweet. So, hey, get ready. We got an awesome episode coming for you. So, Pastor Jonathan, I know this story, maybe many in our congregation do, but maybe some of our students don't know.
Yeah.
I remember part of your journey was like you said that God got really real with you your 10th grade year.
That's right.
You played basketball.
Yeah.
Was it during the season? Kind of tell me that story of what happened.
Yeah, what I realized is that I was sort of coming to a fork in the road where I thought, okay, I've got all these friends. I was real involved in sports. I wasn't as good as you, Joe. But I love to play, and I got to be on some teams and in the Bree City schools. But there came a point with this fork in the road where I realized my friends are beginning to go this way, but I know that following Jesus means going over this way. And to be true to Him and to honor Him means that I need to follow Him. Am I going to be all His, or am I going to try to straddle the fence? And God brought me to a point of decision in that time.
And so, what did it look like? Was it at a camp moment, a youth service?
Yeah.
Kind of, how did that all happen?
There was actually this English guy named Ian Thomas, and he had this great British accent. And he talked about the fact that Jesus didn't finish his work on the cross, that He came back to life, He's still alive, and he goes, you don't have to just try to live your life for Him. He wants to actually come and live His life in you and through you. And He'll give you the strength to follow Him. And I remember at that point, it was like Jesus grabbed a hold of my heart. And I just, in that moment, it was a church service, guest speaker, this guy, Ian Thomas, and I said, Lord, I'm all yours. I surrender. I don't know what that means for me with my friends, and I wasn't deep into stuff, but I felt like I was at a place where I needed to decide, am I all for Jesus, or am I going to be halfway? And I went all for Jesus. And not that it's a straight line ahead, but it's been a great journey. I love Him with all my heart, and whatever else happens in my life, to know that Jesus will always be with me and accepts me for who I am and forgives me is a game changer.
Yeah, I think oftentimes, I've shared my story so many times with teenagers, and I think oftentimes what happens is, they get a glimpse of somebody who's a little older than them, and they hear, well, this is what I used to be like, and now this is me now. But we kind of fast forward through some of the teenage years. So what kind of happened after that moment in the rest of your high school career? What did the rest of high school look like? Were you in the hallways preaching the gospel, or did just people just see the life change? Kind of walk me through the rest of high school after Christ, because we have teenagers that will be watching this that they might need to be making a pivotal decision soon, and what that's going to look like.
One funny part of my story is that I hated speech class, so I didn't like to speak in public, and I said, Lord, whatever, I'll follow you as long as you don't make me speak in public. And here I am, the pastor at a church. But what it looked like for me then, my brother and I started a Bible study, and every Tuesday and Thursday morning we would meet for 25 minutes. It's pretty brief. And we got a classroom, and we would just do a 10 to 15 minute Bible study, and we ended up having at the highest point, 45 kids who would come. And
this was at Berea?
It was at, Bree Mid-Park. It was Mid-Park at the time. Now they've combined the schools. But I'll say even then, I was sometimes have friends who would go hey, Schaeffer, what are you doing in there? I'd be like, we're having Bible study. Because I was just embarrassed. And I'm here I'm leading a Bible study, but why? My friends were on the football team. But I ended up gaining confidence, and I had a lot of opportunities to talk about Jesus with my friends.
Wow.
There were some things I knew were probably too much of a temptation for me. So I would have friends who were doing, smoking weed or doing, just drinking from their parents' liquor cabinet, and I thought there are probably some places I need to stay away from. But I also don't want to lose my influence with some of these guys who I've become friends with. So I had opportunities. A few of them have come to know Christ in, either then or in the time since. But I look back and I wish I had been even more bold, because I confess that there were times I thought, man, I was still nervous about what people thought about me. And so that was always going to be a struggle in high school. So God got a hold of my life, but it was not like this immediate, I just became a totally confident person.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's been awesome to hear the beginning parts of Pastor Jonathan's journey, but now I have a question. You ready to play some basketball?
I don't know if I'm ready, not as ready as this guy is, but I'll do my part, yeah.
So let's go shoot some
All right,
hoops.
great.
Okay. PI. It's a close game, and I love my head pastor, but I really love winning too. You ready? Here we go.
Great job, man. That was awesome.
It was a good game. It was really close.
Yeah.
Had to do it though. Had to do
I
it.
know.
Couple questions I wanted to ask you specifically, because we're in a series right now called X's and O's.
That's
God's playbook for relationships, romance, and sex. And so what I wanted to ask you was, how did you meet your wife?
Yeah.
Because we all know you're awesome. Like, you're awesome. But Mary...
She's I'm married. We both married up, right?
100%,
Right.
100%.
Yeah. So anyhow, I'm at my college campus, Columbia International University.
Is this New York?
This is in South Carolina.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm on campus, and she's working in the dining room. And that's probably the first place I saw her. And she was the cashier, and at the end of the line when you made sure you paid for your food or did your swipe. And so she had this joyful countenance. And if anybody knows my wife, Mary, they know that she's just she's just a bubbly kind of person. And I thought, wow, she's really cool. And so we began to get to know each other. And what I found out was we were from totally different backgrounds. Like, I'm one of 9 children.
Wow.
Mom and dad loved Jesus. Her parents at the time were her dad was married 5 times.
Wow.
It was a lot of craziness in the home. Mary talks about this. Her mom is now a follower of Jesus, but at the time there was a lot of drinking and drugs and all kinds of stuff going on. And Mary, in university, a girl came up to her in her freshman year at Appalachian State in Boone, North Carolina, and said, "Would you be part of Bible study with me?" And Mary was like, "Wow, I've seen a change in this girl's life." So Mary came to know Jesus, transferred to the school I was. She'd only been a Christian for like 2 years, but she was like her plane was taken off.
Yeah.
And so, so I eventually got up the courage to ask her out, and she thought I would never ask her out. I thought she wouldn't say yes, and it was this amazing journey since.
So, just because you brought up the courage to ask her out, all that stuff, we've got to know, what was the first date?
Yeah, first date. I took her to Cracker Barrel.
Let's go.
Yeah, so Cracker Barrel was the place. She only ate a little bit because she was so nervous. So I remember, this is typical me. I was like, "Hey, if you're not going to finish that up, is it okay? Like, if she's like, sure."
That would have totally been me. That would have totally been
So
me.
it was really good. And and we had a relationship that we're really grateful. We said, we're going to keep Jesus first here. And he protected us, and we made good. It was one we look back and say, made good decisions, and there's not regrets.
Yeah.
So it's awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool. Was her family all fans of you at first? Or did you not have to pass any approval anywhere? What did that look like?
Her mom was like, she told someone, she goes, "This family, it's, because there was a TV show back then called The Waltons, and then they were like this," and she said, "They're like this family," and we had our own issues. No family's perfect, but she seemed more like, "Wow, this is really something, this family that Jonathan's from," and so she gave her approval quickly. Her dad was not really part of her life, and he didn't come to our wedding. He didn't often remember her birthday, but 3 months before he died in his 50s, he gave his life to Jesus.
Wow.
And so it's a great story. And he made a lot of money, was a successful guy in the world's eyes, but his life was broken on the inside and a lot of broken relationships. But I'm going to see him in heaven.
Yeah,
So.
that's incredible.
Ooh, it's good.
Clutch or not? You know, if you're tuning in and watching this episode, I just think so easily, especially in the 21st century, it's so easy just to see, you know, a pastor on a stage as like a figurehead, and you're like the least like that person there is. You're just so social and relatable to everybody. But I think it's easy sometimes, like especially as you're a teenager, somebody young in a large church, to just feel disconnected. And what I want to say to you guys is like, he was just like so many of you know, so many of us, me included. I made the decision to go public, like an aggressive after Jesus in 10th grade. And so like, I just hope that if you're watching this as a student, you're just seeing the pathways of Pastor Jonathan and Mary, even in your own journeys and what could be parts of your story too. So
I want you to know we pray for you guys and we're cheering you on. And I just, to know that you're totally accepted by Jesus. If I could go back to my high school self then, I wish I would know like my identity is totally in him, because I worried too much about what other people thought about me. But I don't think I'm the only guy who struggles with that.
No, totally. You know, kind of riffing on that thought, because that's part of relationships too, even though it might not be the pathway we're going necessarily in this series. We've talked about it a lot. How do you feel like young people, totally switching gears from you and your wife, but even really it plays out there, you had to have the courage, right, to ask her out. Right. At some point you had to. How do you think young people can develop the courage to take the social risk? Not just in asking somebody out, but like I always tell young people when I preach to them, you'll never make the difference or the impact you're created to make without taking the social risk. We have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. What do you think some steps that teenagers can take to get uncomfortable in their faith and getting comfortable with the uncomfortable? How do you think we can grow in that?
That's a great question. I think for me, two things I look back at. One is to know if Jesus is the one who determines my identity, like I'm accepted by him, forgiven by him, and no matter what anybody else thinks about me, like I'm good with him. That gives me the confidence to know that I can take a risk in relationships. The other thing I look back on in high school was having a youth group let me know I was accepted by them, and I could take more risks with my friends who weren't yet followers of Jesus, because I knew my youth group friends, like they were going to lock arms with me, and they accepted me, and that was great. And I think if I could look back, sometimes just being a friend to people, too quickly I wanted to talk about Jesus at times. And I think if I would have just been like, if I would have just been like, tell me more about your family, or what are your dreams for the future? You know, are there things that I love to pray for? Like I believe in prayer. Can I pray for you? But I think being just a good friend as well, and then you earn the right for someone to want to open up with you.
Relational equity.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Double or nothing. I just want to go in for one of my specials.
Okay.
And if I can dunk it, would you say that would make up for?
If you can dunk it, you win.
Let's just see what happens here, okay? Because I know you've been smoking me. All right, I think I'm ready to go. All right, here we go. All right.
I don't know about playing against him though. He might dunk on you. He might dunk on you. So before we finish though, I want to just ask you a couple random questions. All right. And so first off, what was your most embarrassing moment as a student?
Wow. probably for me, it was the time I was playing basketball. I'll go back to the basketball game, and it was a jump ball, and I was not the guy doing the jump, but I got the ball, and I'm like, I've got an open path to the basket. And I go down, I make the basket, and it was the wrong basket. You ever had something like that happen? Probably not, Joe.
Not that.
No,
not
but
that.
anyhow, I thought I heard people screaming, and they were, but they were screaming at me to stop. That was probably my most embarrassing moment, yeah.
Awesome.
That was in a legit game in 8th grade.
Yeah. So you grew up with a lot of siblings.
Yeah.
How many siblings?
Yeah, 6 sisters and 2 brothers, so 9 of us total.
6 sisters and 2
Yeah.
brothers. So what was it like growing up in a home with a ton of kids? Was there like, were you guys fighting over food? Were you fighting over everything?
It was
what was
awesome.
it like?
Yeah, it was loud. It was competitive. We played a lot of games. We had a ping pong table. Just loved board games, going outside, and we had dinner together every night as a family, and it was just like a ping pong kind of conversation. And I'd invite my friends over, and they're like, "Wow, you guys are like talking all the time and loud," but it was a blast. We loved it.
That's awesome. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Right now it would be Mitchell's Amaretto. It's seasonal, but when they've got that, I love Mitchell's Amaretto.
Okay. What's the best movie you've watched recently?
Wow. I'm sort of a Denzel Washington guy.
Okay.
Yeah, so anything, but I'm trying to think one that and I also like Tom Hanks. I watched
Okay.
Bridge of Spies.
I've never heard of
Yeah,
that
it's a
one.
World War II movie based on a true story.
Got it.
But Tom Hanks, yeah, it was a good movie.
Bridge of Spies, and it could be worship music, not worship music, any music. What's like the current like band or song that's been on repeat lately?
Yeah, there's been a few of them, probably The Goodness of God. It's done by Bethel Worship, I think, and Mary and I play that song a lot. Just in the midst of all this crazy pandemic stuff and a lot of unrest, just say, God, you are so good. So,
have you heard "Talking to Jesus" by Maverick City?
I love Maverick City.
Oh.
Yeah, that's been the other one is, if you said it, I believe it. If you haven't heard that, if you said it, I believe it. And that's another one I probably had recycling a lot as well. But what was the name of that one again? By
Talking to Jesus.
Talking to Jesus.
It's
Okay.
so good.
Yeah, I just listened to Gyra yesterday.
Oh yeah, that's a
that
good
was-
one
yeah.
too. That's a good one too. Well, hey, want to thank you all for tuning in to Pig with Pastor Joe, episode 4. Hey, thanks.
Did you just call me a pig?
Well,
Yeah.
you were more times than me, but this guy, he got me today.
Just 1 out of 3 games.
Hey, but thanks for joining us today. We
Good
appreciate
job,
you, man.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.